I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for being with us. Again, my name is Paul Harrell. This is Conduit News, and you have found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality where we are building a liberty machine. Telephone number 870-275-9799. If you would like to contribute to the program, you're welcome to. Also, want to remind everybody listening on terrestrial radio, you can get the program at conduitnews.com, as well as we're broadcasting live on YouTube, as well as facebook.com/conduitnews. And you can become part of the online community. And there's a lot of people, a lot of iron sharpening iron out there, I feel like. I really appreciate you guys and the community that you formed. A lot of people have an appointment every morning on the Facebook page and the YouTube to sit down together, talk to each other. There's a lot of conversations happening between the listeners of this program, and that's very, very encouraging. And so continue using that medium as you will. Man, what a crazy weekend.
Be nice to each other.
Yeah. Be nice to each other as well. Yeah. Has anyone ever actually had their mind changed via a Facebook argument? Not that there's a lot of arguing going on, but that's a good question.
We'll call them discussion.
How many of you have written out a response to a Facebook argument and then not posted it but deleted it? I know I have. Because I've thought to myself before, well, this is just going to be a waste of time. Now, in some cases, I have failed, and I think I should have posted some of my comments. But then it became do I really want to commit to this? Because they're going to respond to this, and then I'm going to have to write something else, and it's like it could consume your whole day. I'll just talk about you on the radio. That's what I'll do. Anyway. Hey, Pride Month is over. It's July 1st. It's July 1st, Joe. Joe made me aware of this. That because you were yesterday. I saw an unusual amount of rainbow flags. Rainbow. The rainbow is God's sign. He created it to show the world he wasn't ever going to judge the world again. It doesn't end there though. That'd be nice, right? Show he'd never judge the world again. By water, not ever again, but by water. And so you have that rainbow flag there, which is kind of interesting. That's the song. Yes, Joe, my next is fire. The interesting thing is that symbol. Now some might say, well, that's just a coincidence. No, in a way, it's taking a sign that is reprieve from judgment, and it didn't belong to the LGBT community before it first belonged to God. It still belongs to God. It's just his symbol. The rainbow is his symbol, according to the Bible. That's interesting. But anyway, I saw an inordinate amount of rainbow flags yesterday, and I couldn't remember. I don't really know why, because I thought we had done this. I thought there was a big what am I trying to say? Hubbub, or I thought there was a big to-do back on June 1st, but that was the beginning of Pride Month. Yesterday was the end of Pride Month, and so here we are. But it's over. So I was watching television last night with my wife, and there was this ad for Sephora, which is like a makeup company or something, and it was the weirdest ad I've ever seen. And it was all about, it seemed like it was about transgenderism and LGBT and all this other stuff. It was just so over the top. And now I guess I know why. It was apparently a big celebration. Anyway, Telephone number is 870-275-9799. That's 870-275-9799. Sorry, I've got some coffee grounds. Well, how did the... I have to look at that machine. I got coffee grounds in my coffee. So the President of the United States, I don't know what they're going to do with this one. And you know, there comes a point where you can't continue to lie to yourself. The American media are going to now make what the president did yesterday by crossing into the country of North Korea, being the first sitting president to do so. They're going to make this a negative. And you know, at some point you got to look yourself in the mirror, and I don't see how they're going to do it. I mean, I know you hate the man. I know you can't stand what he's doing in terms of, the reversing of liberal policies and putting in some cases, not even right-wing policies, but just ones that have to do with common sense and not going to, we're not going to allow the slow decline of America anymore. We're just not going to do it. And interestingly enough, that doesn't involve war. Interestingly enough, President Trump claims to not want war, and he is attempting to have peace, actively have peace. Not just say, I don't want war, like every politician does on the campaign trail in some capacity, but to really believe in this Reagan doctrine of peace through strength. I mean, do we remember the things that the president... Remember, the president was going to tweet us into a nuclear war, calling Kim Jong-un Rocket Man, saying that, it would be fire and fury if you got in a confrontation with the United States. It kind of seems like maybe he respected that blunt talk, right? And now they're shaking hands. I mean, say what you want to. Yeah, does there need to be some signed agreement? Absolutely there does. But you notice John Bolton wasn't there at this meeting yesterday, or 2 days ago. John Bolton was not even in Korea. He was somewhere else. So you got to wonder, I mean, it was reported that Kim Jong-un didn't really like John Bolton. President Trump said of John Bolton last week that, yeah, of course he's a hawk. Of course I've got a hawk. He'd be at war with everybody if it was up to him. Anyway, you can just kind of see he likes different perspectives, surrounding him. But it seems maybe there was, during back of that Singapore summit, there was just like a curveball that somebody didn't anticipate, and they weren't on the same page. And so now talks have restarted thanks to this meeting. Now, for those of you who don't know why this happened yesterday, the president was at the G20 summit. And it was, that was over in the East, and as part of, it's kind of everything was winding down. So it's like, hey, why not? Let's try to meet with Kim Jong-un. Let's meet at the DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone. And so they meet there. They walk up, they shake hands, and the President of the United States says, you want me to come over? And Kim Jong-un, you can hear all this through the translator. Kim Jong-un says, yeah, sure. You'd be the first president to do so, but sure. And the president just steps over. Tucker Carlson of Fox News reported that the press corps was aghast when he did it. They knew they were watching history. I'll tell you what else I was watching. Anybody else see the video? Those North Korean news people, the cameramen, and they are they look like they're trained like soldiers. I mean, when that cameraman goes to move to get in position to film the president and Kim Jong-un, he's high-stepping, man. He's got his knees up, and he's running as fast as he can. I mean, in terms of like sprinting. Like it's just like immediate acceleration and immediate stop. Get the camera. It's like, wow, that's some, you can tell that guy has got to hit his mark because it's North Korea. Of course, the left doesn't, the left is like, how dare we even talk to somebody who's done terrible things like North Korea has. And that's just, they're completely abandoning their diplomatic philosophy for the last 30, 40 years, the Democrats are. You just don't like it because it's Trump that's doing it. You don't like it because a man that you personally despise is adopting a philosophy of wanting peace, is trying to achieve peace, And you know, the idea that you just don't talk to somebody because they've done terrible things is never something the Democrats have embraced. Okay? And by the way, we wouldn't be able to do business with Saudi Arabia if that was the case. Oh, by the way, now they're all upset about. You know, they weren't upset about. They had no problems, the Democrats, with Saudi Arabia before Mohammed bin Salman was the next king, is the crown prince. They really had no problems with him, with Saudi Arabia, until something about Mohammed bin Salman they don't like. It's not Saudi Arabia, it's Mohammed bin Salman. Hence this was well before the Khashoggi situation. Okay, they didn't like him before the Khashoggi situation as well. And a lot of people trying to bring up Khashoggi again in the last 2 weeks. I've noticed that in the news cycle. Wonder what that's about. No, it seems like the problem is they just don't like how much these world leaders respect and like the president of the United States, or some of our allies, or maybe some of our newer allies. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. Can we get to the audio of this? We have the video. For those of you not watching the program, you can watch this video over at facebook.com/Conduit News or YouTube channel. Here is the president meeting Kim Jong-un and just walking across. Here it is. As you can see, the prestigious blue, what is that, like a bus stop building? What's wrong with this? Demilitarized zone. Pretty old, right? Because nobody's really done any work on this. This looks like a fast food restaurant. These two buildings, like the back of a fast food restaurant. Like a catfish house or something. All right, here we go.
Good to see you again.
Shaking hands, good to see you.
I've never expected to meet you at this place.
Look at this. I want you to watch the camera guy.
Excellency, take a step forward. You will be the first U.S. president to cross this line.
And here he goes. And boom! World peace. I'm just joking, but seriously, that's a big deal. Walking across. North Korea, with their nuclear weapons, had them pointed at everybody. See what? You see that camera guy? Look, that camera getting that broad stance. He's like, look at that. It's like, look at it. It's like he's holding a rocket launcher, man. I'm telling you, those camera guys in North Korea are disciplined.
Clear. All of you. Clear.
Now there was a scuffle between the American press and North Korean people. As you can hear it, apparently the new press secretary got roughed up a little bit. Probably because that camera guy was like, I've got to do my job. All right, so that was a historic meeting. Now, can you believe that? Now then you had Kim Jong-un that stepped foot across the West, too. So they came back across, all right? This is a big deal, and you cannot deny, one thing that the left can't deny, they can't, that the President of the United States and Kim Jong-un have a good relationship. For now. I mean, it can be better, but, I mean, are you concerned at the moment that he's going to launch a nuclear weapon right now? I mean, we were more concerned 2 years ago than we are now. That's for sure. This is a good thing for the world. And if a Nobel Peace Prize was worth anything, Donald Trump should certainly have one if things continue the way they are. Now, I got a feeling. Now, here's a couple things. We're told that this was last minute. I don't know if I buy that, okay? I don't know if I buy that. Matter of fact, I think it's a better thing if the idea that this was a last-minute meeting. I think it's actually better for the country if it wasn't, because of what it means. It almost means that there's already been a deal struck here. And what I'm saying is Secret Service are not going to let him step foot across that border unless it's something that's already been talked about and discussed. Now, if anyone is going to just walk across the border, without some sort of plan, it would be Donald Trump. There's no question about that. But I find it hard to believe that he's just going to walk across the border unless it had been meticulously planned and already agreed to and orchestrated, right? So he goes over there, says that they're restarting talks. I got a feeling that the talks have already been restarted, and they've been taking place for a long time. And this is now it's kind of like Singapore 2.0 in a way. They were just on different pages. Now I think it's like, okay, well, when are we going to announce this agreement? And I want you to also remember what Kamala Extract Harris said. Kamala Extract, she saved Laura Roslin from cancer in the science fiction show Battlestar Galactica. Kamala Extract, look it up. So Kamala Extract Harris, can we go to this clip back during the Dem debates? I didn't get to cover because I was sick on Friday. I'm still recovering from it. This is what Kamala Extract Harris had to say about Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un.
What is the greatest national security threat to the United States? It's Donald Trump. And I'm going to tell you why. Because I agree, climate change represents an existential threat. He denies the science. You want to talk about North Korea, real threat in terms of nuclear arsenal, but what does he do? He embraces Kim Jong-un, a dictator for the sake of a photo op. Putin, you want to talk about Russia?
So it's just a photo op. So that happened on what, Thursday evening? And then on Saturday, the man has another photo op. Inside the country of North Korea. Now, what do you think? You think that's a big deal? You think it's just a photo op? That's what the Democrats are going to say. How does the Democrat Party, what do you do with this? How do you make this a negative? Is there one Democrat out there that's going to say that what happened, what the president did, was great for the world and great for America? Is there any Democrat candidate that's going to say that? Again, I think it's more than a photo op. But even if it's just a photo op, isn't that fantastic? It's not like presidents doing it, for the photo opportunity. We're at this point, I don't know about you, but I think most people objectively would be able to say that the world is now a safer place because President Donald Trump has been proactive in his tweets, his aggressive tweets towards Kim Jong-un, and doing things like he did this weekend. Let me know what you think. It's to say it was history, that history was made, is an understatement. And we have been chosen to live in this particular time. It's pretty exciting. We're going to take a break. Don't go anywhere. Back in just a moment. Hey, welcome back to the program. We got on the phone line Gary S. Goldman back with us. He's a nationally recognized host of Business, Politics, and Lifestyles, which is a weekly talk show airing on WCRN 830 in the Metro Boston area. Gary, how are you, sir?
I'm doing excellent. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's good to have you back on. I wondered,
thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I mean, we got a lot of stuff going on. We have the Democrats debate last night. There was a whole lot of crazy, going on. But we recently have had even more. Let's kind of start. Let's go back. We had Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez say that these camps at the border are concentration camps, and then she has, according to this headline, refused an invitation to visit Auschwitz. What were your thoughts on the events of last week?
Look, her comments were atrocious. I don't think anybody can deny that. I have family and friends.
Hey, folks, it's me, Paul Harrell. I want to say hello to everybody out there who's listening. We appreciate you and your support, especially those listening on KFPW, the Marshall out of Fort Smith, 96.7 FM, 1230 AM. For all of our listeners, if you ever missed the program, you can get us online at conduitnews.com, facebook.com/conduitnews, or our YouTube channel. Just search for Conduit News and be sure to click the subscribe button and click the little bell to receive notifications. Here at Conduit News Radio, we provide you multiple ways to listen to your number one source for Arkansas news and politics. ConduitNews.com. Let's face it, times are tough for the Arkansas General Assembly. They're all waiting for the spotlight exposing public corruption to end, so they won't be under so much scrutiny. And during this time, what if you're a legislator and you need money? What if you're slapped with a huge expense? What if your check for consultant services is late this month? Or maybe you just need extra cash now until payday. When that happens, you can't wait. Hi, I'm Bobby Blackmail for the Arkansas Intra-Legislator Bank, your trusted source to over 135 lenders to get you short-term cash fast. Use the Arkansas Intra-Legislator Bank today, and you can have up to $12,500 cash in your checking account tomorrow. Dried up bribes no longer coming from Medicaid entities? Handled. Extra cash until your hopeful acquittal? Done. And you'll be surprised at how easy it is to get extra cash. Just be an elected official and be comfortable with the status quo, and we'll connect you with a fellow legislator who is ready to loan. It's quick and easy. And don't worry if you can't make the payments, because the Arkansas Intra-Legislator Bank is designed to help you get through these tough economic times. There are other ways you can pay off your debt, like by voting the way the establishment wants, or by rewarding some with committee chairmanships. So forget about overdraft fees and the spirit of covetousness that sometimes overwhelms the best of lawmakers. Just remember, the Arkansas Intra-Legislator Bank for short-term cash between colleagues when you need it fast.
Some transactions have long-term consequences.
Paul Harrell, parody.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is building a liberty machine. Find out more at conduitnews.com.
My goodness. The Arkansas Democrat Gazette switching to online delivery or digital delivery. Have you heard about this? It is kind of the end of an era when you think about it. I mean, this is kind of where all newspapers have been going for a long time. And Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Matter of fact, you know what? It's kind of appropriate in a way. In a way, it's kind of appropriate that the Arkansas Times has a story on it. So the Arkansas Times have a story on the Arkansas Democrat Gazette shifting to a digital delivery. And the sub-headline by Lindsay Miller is, "The end is here." So yeah, you guys can check that out if you want. If you want to go over to the Arkansas Times website, I just found that quite interesting this morning as I woke up. Also, it's July 1st. Not only is it the end of Pride Month, but it's also the beginning of a new tax day here in Arkansas because you're paying money on your digital downloads, your internet sales tax. Can we go back to Pride Month? I don't know. Would you go back to June and Pride Month if it meant you could save money? Yeah, because I didn't see a whole lot of anything. Yeah, I mean, I could, as much as I was complaining about it, I could survive just, seeing more rainbow flags and celebrating Pride. By the way, it's not what I say. No, it's not gay pride. It's just pride now. No, it's not. I'm sorry. It's not gay pride. It's just pride, which is it's not. It's weird. I mean, I don't understand why it just can't be gay pride. There's a lot more to it, but who are the pioneers in the gay pride movement? Wasn't it the gays? Oh yeah. That's right. That'd be two. I think the gays are getting out in front of the accusation of privilege. It's like, some transgender person is like, you need to check your gay privilege. You've been accepted in society a lot longer than I have, so you need to check your gay privilege at the door. Don't talk to me. Don't look at me. Anyway, we're gonna be back here in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. Happy Monday, everyone.
Families that were killed in these concentration camps. So when I hear these types of comments, I look someone like AOC and I say, hey, we can chalk it up to ignorance. And I'm not sure AOC really has an understanding of anything she talks about, but she surely doesn't have an understanding of what went on during the Holocaust and this particular time. Her refusal to go to the camp, to learn something does not surprise me, because everything about AOC has nothing to do with, with learning. It's all talking points. It's all trying to use metaphors to connect the dots that do not really connect, to just bring a subject matter into light. And she doesn't care about the collateral damage involved in what she does. And this is one particular situation where she's done that. And look, she usually can back her way out of it, and one way or another with more ridiculous comments. This one, I think she has herself in a little bind. But with the cycle in this country of crazy AOC comments lasting, no more than a few days, she'll be on to the next thing before everyone catches up on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, and what I have been really, disappointed in is to see other members of the left take this outrageous comment and try to excuse it or agree with it in some way. Be like, well, she raises a good point, never again. And it's I mean, like you said, you had family members who went through the Holocaust, and there's no comparison with what's going on at the southern border with the Holocaust.
I wrote some op-ed the other day, and I said the one point that many points she missed, but she missed a major point when it came to this conversation. Those coming to the border are doing so by will. Those that were rounded up obviously were not doing it by will. They ended up in these concentration camps. Mm-hmm. And, it doesn't surprise me whether it's AOC or just certain millennial groups. They use particular words. They don't care of how harmful those words may have been. In Boston yesterday, we have a company called Wayfair. I don't know if you saw this, the furniture company.
Yes.
They didn't like the fact that their company was selling beds to a government contractor that was trying to make people in these detention centers a little more comfortable. And they went out on strike, and they didn't want any part of this. The fact of the matter, they were using the word concentration camp. And I saw this and I said, this is absolutely absurd, because the more we allow this type of behavior to go on, the worse it's going to get. Use the word that suits you, that you feel suits your, moment in time, whether you understand the real meaning of it. And trying to connect it with metaphors, to me, doesn't do any justice for a situation like this.
No, I completely agree, and it's absolutely a shame how reactive and people are, with Wayfair just trying to get beds down there, and they're
Bringing you your daily dose of truth. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Here we go. Welcome back to the program. Thanks so much for being with us. I've got this headline here. As the wealthy flee New York, the poorest will be most affected. A lot of people are fleeing because you got that state and local tax deduction, those Trump tax cuts. You can no longer deduct that, right? And so these high tax states, most of them are blue liberal states. You got people now realizing, wow, my state government's messed up. I don't want to pay all this money. I used to deduct this, no longer, and now I can't. And so they're moving. Now the question is, are they going to actually change their the way they vote? I don't know. Who knows? Now some of these wealthy people might be quite conservative, or in terms of fiscal, realities, and so maybe they'll vote for Republicans. I don't know. But anyway, here to join us to talk about this, we've got Dr. Michael Busler back with us once again, public policy analyst and economics expert. Dr. Busler, good to have you back on this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. It's always my pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's always great to have you. So what is your take on this? All these wealthy people fleeing New York, and the poorest will be the most affected.
Yeah, it's exactly right. It's not just in New York, too. I live in New Jersey, and we have a similar problem. California, Illinois, all have similar problems. As you mentioned, they're very liberal states. Now, the whole liberal view is that you redistribute income by raising taxes on the wealthy, essentially raising taxes on people that have earned the income and given that income to people for whatever reason haven't earned it. Now, pretty soon people who are earning income start looking around and saying, we're doing all this work, I'm taking capital and investing it and taking risk to make a profit. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But then even when I do, the government's taking a big chunk of what I earned. So there's no reason for me to invest, which is going to slow economic growth overall. But people say, look, if I stay in California or New York, in addition to the high federal income taxes that I have to pay, there's additional state taxes that are loaded on. In New Jersey here, and similar to New York, we have extremely high property taxes. We have over a 7% sales tax on everything we buy, and then there's a personal income tax that could go as high as 9%, and they're thinking about raising it up to 11%. California, it's up to 13% maximum. Well, people started saying, look, we're earning all this income and the government's taking it away. It doesn't make any sense. And you see people fleeing the state and going to places like Texas and Florida, which have very favorable tax environments, and those states are gaining population. Now, your other comment, the poor will suffer. Well, as all these people leave, tax revenue goes down. I think Governor Cuomo in New York said the first quarter of this year they were $3 billion under what they should have collected in tax revenue, and that's mostly a result of people that have left the state. Well, as that happens, there's less money the state government has to spend, and therefore less money they can help with some of the poor people with some of the programs. So there's a limit to how high you can raise taxes, and they're starting to see that raising tax rates does not necessarily increase revenue. In fact, oftentimes, if you bring the rates down a little bit, you'll get so much more economic activity that revenue will go up. Look, on a national level, Congress lowered taxes for everybody, passed in 2017, went into effect in 2018. So tax rates were lower in 2018, but economic activity picked up so much that we actually took in more tax revenue in 2018 than we did in 2017. So the point is, you can't keep raising taxes and expect revenue to go up. People just aren't going to pay it, and they're going to look for alternatives.
We're talking with Dr. Michael Busler. He's an economics expert. He's a professor of finance at Stockton University in New Jersey. You can read his columns at Newsmax, LifeZet, townhall.com. The economy's doing well, Dr. Busler.
Yes.
The Democrats who are running for president are claiming that it's not doing well. So, where's the disconnect there? Why are they? You think they're hoping for an economic downturn sometime next year so they can be proven right?
Well, the Democrats always appeal to the people who may not be doing quite as well. And they try to find, I was listening to the debate, and I was wondering who exactly the Democrats are talking to. They're saying, look, people are having trouble. They're living paycheck to paycheck. There's a lot of Americans struggling. A lot of people left behind is what the Democrats say. Now, when you take a look at the data, it doesn't say that. The unemployment rate is as low as it's ever been, practically. It's down in the under 4%. Certain minority groups are at historical lows. There are 1 million more job openings today than there are unemployed people. There's 7 million job openings, about 6 million unemployed people. So if anybody wants to work and look for opportunity, there's opportunity. The Democrats' message, maybe in 2008 or even in 2012, had a little bit of sense to it. There are a lot of people that were hurting as a result of the last severe recession. But that's not the case today. People are doing well. Anybody who has any kind of a skill and can do anything, there's plenty of jobs out there. And for the first time in decades, wages are rising significantly. They're going up almost twice the rate of inflation. So I'm not sure who the Democrats are talking to, and I have a feeling when we get to the 2020 election, I'm still very optimistic about the economy. Now, the second quarter of this year, the date will be out the end of the month. It looks like it's slowed down a little bit. But much of that has to do with the Federal Reserve raising interest rates 8 times since President Trump was elected. I know where they were at historical lows, but by raising them so fast, we're in a growth stage here. You're really hindering a lot of that growth. So it looks like the Federal Reserve is not going to raise anymore. Indeed, they may cut interest rates. Even if they don't, as long as they don't raise interest rates, I think this year economic activity will be as good or probably better than last year, and I think 2020 is going to be a strong year too. If that happens, the Democrats are going to be talking to people who they say are left behind, but there's not that many people left behind anymore. As I say, if you want to get a job today, there are plenty of jobs available, and there's no reason for someone to be unemployed if they truly want to work.
Yeah, and we also have this situation where like you said, the Democrats are who are they talking to? I don't know who they're talking to, Michael. I mean, not just on the issue of the economy, but a lot of other things. I mean, reproductive justice. I mean, Julian Castro, he just created that phrase. I've never heard of reproductive justice in terms of, trying to apply it to the LGBTQ, the trans community. I mean, it's almost like they're doubling down on what people wanted jobs, back in 2016. They wanted things to be better. There were these problems that the media was ignoring, the Democrat Party was ignoring. The Democrat Party chose to lecture people on pronoun usage instead of, what the folks are going through, the average person's going through.
Yeah, and the American public really didn't want to hear that. What they wanted to hear, as you mentioned, was when is this stagnant economy going to start to grow? The economy was in a 10-year stagnation period from 2006 to 2016. The economy averaged only about 2% economic growth. And as a result of that, there were very few opportunities for new college graduates. So many of them took jobs for which they were underemployed. And as a result of them taking jobs where you didn't need a college degree, those without college degrees had no opportunity, and they dropped out of the labor force, and we had a large amount of what we call discouraged workers. Well, Americans wanted the economy to get going again, so that the college graduates who are worried about this debt that they're carrying, which is another issue, as long as they had good jobs with good income, the college debt wouldn't be that much of a problem, and that's what they were really looking for. So Donald Trump came along and he said, we've been in this 10-year stagnation period, so I'm going to do what I can to get the economy growing as rapidly as possible, and that's why people voted for him. He got into office. He removed as many counterproductive and growth-stifling regulations as he could, and he did that in his first month or two in office. So since he was sworn in January 2017, beginning in April of 2017, the economy started growing at a 3% rate, and it's continued that rate ever since. Yeah. So, and as a result of that, people are now finding opportunity, and the economy is truly doing well. So in 2016, people wanted things turned around and have a administration that focuses on economic growth rather than the Obama administration, which concentrated on curing perceived social injustices.
Yes.
It's injustice everybody doesn't have health care. It's injustice big banks take advantage of consumers. It's injustice CEOs make so much more than everybody else. So their focus was on reducing income inequality and curing these perceived social injustices, but every time they did that, it hindered economic growth. It passed the Affordable Care Act to get more people covered by insurance, that's true, but it added to the cost of business and tended to slow economic growth. They passed the Dodd-Frank bill. They said so big banks wouldn't take advantage of consumers anymore. It eliminated what they referred to as predatory lending. The problem was it eliminated virtually all lending. And when that happens, monetary policy doesn't work as well. There's no multiplying effect. So in 2016, they wanted all these things reversed. President Trump got in. He did exactly what he said he was going to do, and the economy has been doing well.
We're talking with Dr. Michael Busler again, public policy analyst, economics expert. I got to ask you this before we go, and I know it's the summertime, so I'm assuming you're not teaching very many classes at Stockton University, or maybe a few, but out of the Democrat candidates and all the young people that you teach, which one do you think is going to appeal, or maybe you already know, like maybe you've got one in mind that you think would appeal most to the students who tend to be more leftist, who attend our college campuses?
Yeah, they love Bernie Sanders. They love Bernie Sanders. And they did back in 2016 also when Bernie Sanders was running against Hillary Clinton for the nomination. Part of the reason is on college campuses, the vast majority of faculty members are very liberal. I teach at a university that was started as a liberal arts college and still has a very liberal arts feel to it. And unfortunately, the liberal professors only present one side of the argument to students. And as a result, they tend to get indoctrinated in this liberal view. So as a result of that, they think free college tuition is a good idea. They think health care for everybody is a good idea. You talk about guaranteeing people a basic income. They think that's a good idea, too. It's only when they look at the other side that they start to scratch their head a little bit. Let me give you a real quick example. I teach a course in ethics every year. And the students, and I look at it from a business perspective. So I start off and say, look, what do you think about the minimum wage? Do you think we should raise the minimum wage? Well, they're all in favor of raising it to $15 an hour. Then I explain to them how raising it to $15 an hour ends up reducing the number of jobs available to unskilled workers and ends up hurting them in the long run. Even today, with the unemployment rate down to rock bottom, the teenage unemployment rate is 15%. It's usually in the 20% range for a number of reasons, but minimum wage has a lot to do with it. So when I give them the other side of the argument, and I try to give both sides without any of my bias in there, when I give the other side of the argument, some students are sitting in the back, and I see them scratching their head a little bit, saying, maybe this raising the minimum wage is not such a good idea. So the point is, if the faculty gave students both sides of an argument instead of trying to indoctrinate them in the liberal view, I think it would help students to form more better opinions and be a more informed voter.
I couldn't agree more. And I appreciate you're one of the good guys that's actually wanting people to go to, institutions of higher learning, Dr. Busler, and think for themselves, think critically about the issues and come up with their own, opinions about it after they look at both sides. Dr. Michael Busler, we appreciate it, sir. You have a fantastic Independence Day.
Thank you. You too.
All righty.
Take care.
Dr. Busler, everybody, we're going to take this, we'll cut this into a small YouTube video. And we'll get it out there. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, Conduit News. It's at Conduit News. You want to subscribe and click the little bell to receive notifications so you get this interview with Dr. Busler, and you can share it with your friends. He's always great to have on. We always really appreciate it. We're going to take a break, going to reset here. Going to be back in just a moment. Good morning to you.
Are you a conservative-minded young person and want to let the world know about it? Are you tired of rolling your eyes as your professor regurgitates progressive, PC, neo-Marxist nonsense? Then you should interview on Conduit News Radio's Young Conservative segment and tell us about why you believe the way you do. Tell us how you came to be a conservative and what are your views on government. Now, if you're worried that your neo-Marxist professor may also be a right-wing talk radio listening masochist, then names can be changed to protect the innocent. It's the Conduit News Radio Conservative Future segment. To be interviewed, call 870-275-9799. That's 870-275-9799. If you're like me, You believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
Stuff that they're going through. I will say this, the people on the left are at least acknowledging that there's an issue at the border because the president said there was a crisis and everybody, gave speeches to that effect. And the left said, no, there's not a crisis. And now we're being inundated with these photos. This one photo in particular of a father with his toddler daughter face down, inches from the border dead. And I will tell you, Gary, the image obviously is tragic, it's disturbing, but with millennials, those on my Facebook, they really are reacting to this in an emotional way. And in so doing, some of them are just essentially calling for open borders because of what's going on right now, and that's not the answer.
No, that's look it. That is a horrific picture. It's a horrific.
Determined to drain the swamp in Little Rock, it's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Dr. Larry Kudlow, I don't know what planet the Democratic candidates are on. The economy's doing great. Now, this could all turn around. I'm one of these guys that thinks that the Federal Reserve is so... let's just say this. The president is anti-globalist, meaning whatever direction the major countries, whatever agreements they had moving forward, whether it was represented in the Paris Climate Accords or whether it's represented in the open borders policies that almost every major country, we're to believe can't control who's coming into their country. And we've got the courts stopping Obama from building the wall. We got all this stuff happening. But whatever direction, do you think the Federal Reserve System was on board with that plan, or do you think I guess my point is I'm always suspicious that however great the economy's doing, Federal Reserve could attempt to tank it next year by tweaking some policy here or there. So the Democrats coming out saying the economy's bad is, maybe it's a long-term strategy that they hope pays off sometime next year, kind of a la 2008 when McCain and Obama were running, and then, you had, what was that, in September? You had the giant crash, and then you had, Obama had the plan, or looked like he had the plan, and McCain didn't have the plan, and then George H.W. Bush saying I had to abandon the free market principles to save the free market, that sort of thing. Telephone number 870-275-9799. It's definitely something to think about. Next hour, we are going to talk about it's new tax day. You get to pay your internet sales tax now if you're going to buy anything online. Matter of fact, my wife got an email. We ordered a movie. You know what we watched? We rented Captain Marvel the other night, and we got charged, I think, 50-something cents, 53, 57 cents or something in taxes. So... way to go, Arkansas. You guys going to get a lot of money. But, let's talk about how much money. That's what we want to do. The Gazette did a write-up on this yesterday. How much money are we actually going to be getting? The state, the local government, cities and counties. Do you believe that it's what they say it is, or do you think it's going to be much higher? I tend to believe that it's going to be much higher, and we'll get into those numbers next hour sometime. Also, still want to stick with this story about Trump going into the demilitarized zone and crossing the border into North Korea. The history here can't be understated that's being made. Those of you on the left that are skeptical, you know, at this point, this is what's so frustrating to me. There are people out there that still believe that, I'm talking about, your average person believes that they are more intelligent than the President of the United States at this point. You know what I'm saying? Can you imagine doing it? Which one of you out there would have crossed that border? I'm serious. Those of you out there who can't stand the president personally, like on the left, like you hate his guts. Okay. But those of you who are in the middle, do you have the stones to cross that border with Kim Jong-un and go into North Korea? It's an honest question. Do you have the stones to negotiate something like that? Do you have the Constitution to tweet and mean it that we will go to war in the Korean Peninsula if you continue launching and testing your missiles? I mean, I guess my point is I don't have the gumption to do that. And so this idea, I guess what I'm trying to say is the President of the United States is not your average person, and most presidents aren't, because they have risen to become the President of the United States in their life. And I'm just saying, like, at some point, if the media was, resembled anything that they used to, I think most people in this country would be pleased with where we are and what the president is doing. But everybody's got to have the caveat. Well, I don't agree with his style. Listen, if you guys hadn't realized, for the last 30 years, or for longer than that, the status quo has been the problem. It's crystal clear to me more than anything. We always wanted change, but we don't know, this guy will do it, this guy will do it, but all I know is has everything worked out, great? Has everything worked out to fit in my little conservative ideological box, my esoteric understanding? No, it hasn't. It hasn't. And unfortunately, most of the country doesn't care about such things. That doesn't mean we shouldn't pay attention. That doesn't mean we shouldn't continue to study our founders and first principles. But I will tell you this. I believe that for whatever purpose, this undoing, and that's what we're witnessing. We are witnessing an undoing of policies that have brought this nation to the decline and brought the world to the brink of war, whether it's with Iran or whether it's with North Korea. Or, and then you look at the economic forces, whether the rise of China versus the decline of the United States. I mean, our news media won't tell us what the Chinese are really doing and the existential threat that they are, because we're slowly just becoming more and more numb. We were becoming more and more numb to the decline of the country, still being told by our politicians that we're the greatest nation on earth, still being told that we've got the hardest working people on the earth. None of that was true. It used to be. I mean, and we still do have these flat, but my point is, the decline has at least been, I think the ship's been turned around, and here we are. And things are, but we've all had to break through that blockade of truth that the media's had for a long time. The internet's a big part of that. That's why they blame the internet for electing Trump, because there was a free exchange of ideas and information. They blame Russia. They want you to think that Russia convinced you to vote for Trump. Did Russia convince you to vote for Trump, or was it the fact that Hillary Clinton was the worst candidate to ever run for office ever? Back in a minute.
The news and talk of Northeast Arkansas. This is News Talk 101.3 FM and 12:30 AM KBTM, Jonesboro, an EAB radio station.
Situation, but it does bring to light the danger that the president's been talking about.
Yes.
To back up one step, the Democrats are now saying, yeah, we have a crisis at the border, but I think we got to be careful because their definition of the crisis and who caused the crisis is helpful that they're acknowledging it, but it may not be helpful in the manner they're not still really dealing with what is going on at the border. Opening the border up is not going to do anyone any good. It's not going to do this country any good. Look, my daughter's in that millennial age, and last night her and I had a very heated debate about that particular picture. Not that I don't have empathy for the family, but look, I got to be honest with you. I blame a parent that puts their child in that type of danger has to hold some of the culpability in that particular case.
Yeah. No, I
But
agree.
part of it
And there are people on Facebook, though, when you bring that point up, they say, but wouldn't you do the same thing? Wouldn't you, if you were trying to, get a better life in America, wouldn't you do the same thing? Well, I'm not so sure I would, number one.
Right.
Number two, I do hold out that some of these immigrant families are being given misinformation, in an effort to come here. There's also the sex trafficking angle. But, there's some... I will tell you this: there are some of these immigrants that want to come to this country and leave their children here and go. You know what I mean? With the whole anchor baby situation. And now, to me, that's very odd because I'm not sure what parent would want to do that. Would want to leave their family here.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, and and I think you're right. They may be being sold the wrong bill of goods to come to this country. And, look at the Democrats, all the last few days, especially ramping up to these obnoxious, crazy debates, is the great American giveaway. Every one of them, what do we want to give away? What do we want to give away? And when we talk about immigration, I was thinking of this morning. We bring they're okay, bring all these people into the country. It's a constant flow. Bring them in, more votes, whatever. Look, drive around some of the cities and towns in your community. I don't know, and I do in my own community. And I look at people that are here illegally, that are waiting to, I'm not sure, hopefully they're thinking someday they're going to get, some sort of amnesty. They don't look like they're trying to do anything better for themselves. They don't look like anything better is happening for them. All we're doing is creating conditions that they've experienced. And I know sometimes when I say this, people get mad at me in their own countries, within certain cities and towns and neighborhoods within our country. Mm-hmm. And I don't see how that is bettering the United States of America. Nor should we open borders. What country just has open borders? Once you give up the sovereignty for your country, you control sovereignty through your border system. We cannot just have open borders and people walking in and out. And when we listen to these politicians just crying because they saw that picture, they should have been crying months ago when this conversation was first, really brought to light.
Yeah, on this whole situation with, and I keep harping on millennials because technically, I'm a millennial, although I'm barely one, and I don't like to be put in that category. But I think to myself, can you imagine what millennials would do today if we dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki? And if you go and you look at Truman's logic behind that, it was the fact that in order to take, the Pacific Theater, in order to actually do what we needed to do, it was going to cost a ridiculous amount of American lives going island by island. And it really gets down to, well, I've got this technology in the war right now. Okay, so and I don't have to sacrifice any more American lives. And it was this concept of, you know what? Honestly, because we're talking about Americans, it's not worth one American life if I can save American lives and end the war. That was the logic that was behind it, and what a decision it was. I'm glad that I didn't have to make the decision, but I think the right decision was made. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to make a direct comparison between that situation and the border, because obviously we're not talking about enemy combatants or anything else, but we are talking about the economic prosperity of Americans who are already here, and we are, we're talking about people who can't take care of themselves right now, who are Americans, and they're entitled to those services, in my opinion, before somebody who is not an American, because I still believe in the concept of a nation state. But yet, that seems to be offensive to some young people and those on the left today.
It's very offensive, and look at
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
They seem to be in full-scale retreat from spending cuts and are talking about raising people's taxes again. And I have only one thing to say to the tax increasers. Go ahead, make my day.
If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Those who would trade our freedom for security have embarked on this downward course. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell is on now.
Just to kind of let you guys know, and we talked about this last hour, this situation with North Korea, the left is abandoning their principle of diplomacy just because they don't want the president to get any credit. Max Brantley from the Arkansas Times, who is a liberal leftist guy, his headline from yesterday afternoon, Dancing with Dictator. And it's got the president, shaking hands, the president making history yesterday. We talked about, the specifics of that. We'll get to more specifics, but, crossing into North Korea. And Max Brantley writes, quote, "Got a murderous villain you'd like to see your president chum up with? Has Trump missed any? Here's the open line." So this is how a leftist in Arkansas feels. This is how the leftists on the coast feel. This is how they literally are abandoning. I mean, do you remember when President Obama in his initial inauguration, we will open our hands to you if you will just unclench your fist. Isn't that exactly what Kim Jong-un is doing? But, Paul, he's got all these death camps. Well, yeah, absolutely he has the death camps. Yeah, he is a dictator. That is who he is. But he has nuclear weapons. And the bottom line is right now the country, the world, is safer because the president is being proactive. There's not even an agreement signed. But right now, I believe, it could be over tomorrow. He could be, he could be some sort of mad genius that's like, I've got him right where I want him, and now I'm going to push the button. Yeah, okay, that's all possible. But you look at that video from yesterday. You look at their relationship. The fact that they have a relationship is good. That is a good thing. And the left used to believe in talking with our enemies, just like they used to believe in the freedom of speech, just like leftists used to be funny comedians, but they're not anymore because they can't actually say things that we all find funny. And the left, by the way, can't stand comedy because comedy unifies. Being able to, both a leftist and somebody on the right being able to laugh at something unifies us. Anyway, they used to be for diplomacy. They used to be for this idea. It used to be those on the right that you could say, well, they're more of a warmonger. They're more. You could. I'm not saying that it was 100% true and that sort of thing. I'm just saying it's interesting. They're just upset. Somebody on Facebook said, really, all this is Trump being so reasonable when it comes to this diplomacy and trying to make peace. And by the way, the Bible says, blessed are the peacemakers. That doesn't mean you roll over, right? Because you have to go make peace, right? And it's a process where we have to make peace. So you're taking a situation that is chaotic and you're making it peaceful. The Democrats are mad because Trump stole their girlfriend. And their girlfriend was essentially this issue of, well, we're the reasonable ones. We're the ones that want diplomatic relations and we don't want to go to war. But time and time again, we'll be in a war. The president tweeting Rocket Man and saying all these things, saying fire and fury will rain down. Seems like Kim Jong-un understood the message, got the message, you know? But even Arkansas's Max Brantley, got a murderous villain you'd like to see your president chum up with? It's like the left, I mean, and the readers of this and your average leftist, that's what they think. They think, well, the president is a fascist, right? Antifa, the real fascists. But Antifa, anti-fascists, well, of course he's chumming up with, because they're really going to believe that. They actually believe that Trump is friends with Kim Jong-un because he wants death camps too. I wish that was a straw man argument, by the way. I wish I was just making that up. But you got to understand, the former president of the United States, Jimmy Carter, just said, now I know he's old. I get it. I know he's old. But the former president of the United States, Jimmy Carter, just said that the Russians put Trump in the White House. That the Russians rigged the election and put Trump in the White House. It's sad. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. We are in this post-fact, this post-truth, where truth is, you got the new truth, you got the old truth. Doesn't ever matter what was said. Anyway, telephone number 870-275-9799. Welcome to hour number 2. Again, intersection of conservative ideas and reality, where we're building a liberty machine. Real quick, I'm going to get to Arkansas later this hour. It's new tax day. So if you're going to purchase anything online today, chances are you're going to be paying the new tax on it. There are a few exceptions depending on what kind of third-party seller you'd be buying from Amazon. But if you're going to buy something on the internet, you're paying taxes on it today in Arkansas. This is going to be a complete and total windfall for the government of Arkansas. And you know what? To be honest, it can't come at a moment too soon. And I'm telling you right now, those guys that are crunching the numbers for the government, those guys at DFNA, they've been looking forward to this day for a while. Now, I know we've got record revenue for the year, but I'm talking about the guys that know what the future holds. I'm talking about the guys that can see a year, 2, 3 years down the road in the state of Arkansas, these lifer bureaucrats, they know what they're doing in terms of how to predict things, more so than what they would ever release to the public. And they know that Arkansas is going to run out of money in a couple years. And they know this because they see the line on the graph, and they know where it's going, and they know how much money's got to go out. And this money from the internet that is going to be way, way more in terms of, the amount than they're letting people know, cannot come at a moment to, it's arrived as soon as it needed to, essentially. And look, there are guys right now who are in that department that they're probably listening to this program, or somebody will tell them about it, and they know. They're like, oh wow, he knows. Yeah, I do know. I know, number one, because people talk, but number two, if you just take the stories over the last 5 years and you just piece them together yourself. You can't rely on the mainstream media to do it, but piece them together yourself, and you look at the revenue increases. And now I'm taking carefully crafted language aside, taking revenue decreases aside. They decrease revenue to get the headlines, but then they go and increase the revenue, and then they have a net tax increase on the people. But if you just look at the rise in Arkansas spending, you look at the welfare programs, you look how there's a third of people in this state who are on Medicaid in some form. You look at what the profits, the outrageous profits, the law says we got to give 20%. We got to guarantee 20% profit to Blue Cross Blue Shield with the Arkansas Works. If you just look at those numbers and you look at the increase in spending, and then you look at where the tax revenue is coming from, folks, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable with the work requirement. It's certainly not sustainable without a work requirement, and they know this. It is essentially a Ponzi scheme. And the actual scheme in it, with a Ponzi scheme, you got to go back to your investors, and you got to tell the investors, well, you made, you got your first round of investors. Okay, you made the money, right? This is what you made. Well, technically, all that money is just the new revenue that they got from the newest clients, the new suckers, right? They take that and and then they got to go find newer suckers, and it just keeps on and on and on and on. That's the scheme. That's the actual mechanism that keeps everything going. Well, you know what the mechanism in Arkansas is to keep things going? Well, you got to stay in office. Well, how do you stay in office? You figure out the answer to this question. How do you raise taxes on a population but make them think that you cut their taxes? How do you take more money from the people but then get them to thank you and vote for you again because they think their taxes were cut? You say things like more competitive structure and da-da-da-da-da. Maybe you say things like roads. We got to fund our roads. 870-275-9799. There's a lot of different ways to do it. This is what President Trump had to say when he was asked. Go ahead and cue this up. He's with President Moon from South Korea right after his meeting with Kim Jong-un. We played it for you last hour where he took the step into North Korea. And a lot of people are saying it was spontaneous. It might well have been. I'm not buying it was spontaneous. I think it was planned. I don't think the Secret Service would ever allow him to do it. You know what I mean? Now, if anyone would do it, it would be Trump. But I guess my point is the talks have restarted. The talks, I believe, have been ongoing for a while. And if anything, and maybe I'm being too optimistic, but I think the fact that he did that yesterday, that it was agreed to, they shook hands, then Kim came over to the western part, I think, ladies and gentlemen, that a deal has probably already been made. This is President Trump after his meeting with Kim Jong-un. Very legendary, historic day. He's exactly right. Listen.
See if that holds here. Yeah, let's listen in, Hans. Stand by 1 second.
We're each going to designate a team, and the team will try and work out some details. And again, speed is not the object. We want to see if we can do a really comprehensive, good deal. Nobody knows how things turn out, but certainly this was a great day. This was a very legendary, very historic day. It was quick notice. Nobody saw this coming. And it was great that he was able to react so quickly and that we were all able to react so quickly. But in speaking with President Moon, oftentimes he was saying this is historic. Just the meeting is historic. And I think there's something to that. It'll be even more historic. Something comes of it, something very important. But a lot has already come of it because you see what's going on. And you see what's happening, and you see the level of relationship as opposed to the way it was when I came into office. When I came into office, it was a fiery mess. It was bad things were going on. And the end of the other administration, the last administration, was nothing but trouble. You saw what was happening. I mean, you don't report it accurately, but that's okay. Someday history will record it accurately. I can just say that for 2.5 years, we've had peace for 2.5 years with nothing signed. It was just based on relationship. But President Moon was saying very strongly that he said he would have never believed that a thing could go on like this, so friendly, so peacefully, for so long. So we've agreed to have teams set up. We're going to have the United States will have a team. Secretary of State Pompeo will pick it. We already know the gentleman. Good luck, Steve.
Thanks, sir.
And you all know Steve. He's a pro.
All right.
And a good
That's
man.
What I'd like to hear
and
from.
Likes
I'd like to hear from President
both countries
Moon.
very much.
Like, I'd like to know the South Korean president, President Moon. You know, this guy was getting intelligence briefings. Certainly from his own country, but obviously he's a U.S. ally. This guy was getting intelligence briefings. He knew what was going on. I would love to hear from this guy about the role the United States, the active role the United States was playing under the Obama administration versus when Trump got in. I mean, there's very few people, I mean, in the world, in developed nations, that would have great cause to worry and maybe not sleep so well at night. If you're and there's some citizens. I mean, South Korea, certainly, Israel, right? Citizens of Israel, politicians in Israel, they need to be very, very worried all the time because any moment they could get rocket attacked or whatever, right? South Korea doesn't have to worry about those things, little bitty skirmishes. They just have to. They've just been worrying about the one big one, right? That at any moment, I mean, you could basically, your entire peninsula is going to be glassed. You know what I mean? And so I would love to hear from President. I would love to hear from President Moon in some capacity, and maybe he's already spoken on this. I've never thought to even Google it, but I got a feeling that guy is sleeping a lot better, knowing that the president and Kim Jong-un, call it a photo op, Kamala Extract Harris, that's fine. But do you think the world is safer because the president has the relationship he has with Kim Jong-un, or do you think it's somehow less safe? You'd have to be a complete moron to think it was less safe. But again, you got all these people going around that believe that somehow that they're smarter than President Trump. I mean, even right now, they say, oh, you would do a better job. I'm going to ask this. I asked this the first hour. How many of you have the stones to cross that border with you? Would you have done it? See, just the fact that question hasn't really even been asked by the mainstream media, that alone, what you're feeling right now, trying to answer that question for yourself, you are revealing what a historic day. The media's going to say it wasn't historic. The media's going to say it was just a photo op. The media's going to say Trump's full of bluster. They're doing it again. Trump stole their girlfriend. The left and the media used to love peace and diplomacy, and now they want war with Russia. Now they want war with Syria. Now they want war with North Korea. I mean, it's insane, right? But they do actually love the communist Chinese. They want everything to stay good with them. I mean, have you asked that? Can you imagine? Can you be put in those shoes? Wait till you see our meme of the day. These presidents, all these presidents for decades looking across the border into North Korea with binoculars, and then our president just walking across. Would you have done it? Would you want the job? Would you want the job? Do you want to be president of the United States? All of you people out there who continue to just judge, and you don't like his tweets, but you refuse to actually look at what he's accomplishing. Okay. Well, could you do a better job as president of the United States? Do you have the confidence in yourself? Or are you actually very insecure, like most of us are actually very insecure? It's an honest question, but unless you've even asked it today of yourself, I don't think you can form an opinion about what happened this weekend with North Korea and President Trump and Kim Jong-un. Would you have the stones to walk across that border? Telephone number 870-275-9799. Let me know what you think. This is Conduit News. Back in a moment. One American life, if I can save American lives and end the war, that was the logic that was behind it. And what a decision it was. I'm glad that I didn't have to make the decision, but I think the right decision was made. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to make a direct comparison between that situation and the border, because obviously we're not talking about enemy combatants or anything else, but we are talking about the economic prosperity of Americans who are already here. And we're talking about people who can't take care of themselves right now, who are Americans, and they're entitled to those services, in my opinion, before somebody who is not an American, because I still believe in the concept of a nation state. But yet, that seems to be offensive to some young people and those on the left today.
It's very offensive, and look at
Hey folks, it's me, Paul Harrell. I want to say hello to everybody out there who's listening. We appreciate you and your support, especially those listening on KFPW, the Marshall out of Fort Smith, 96.7 FM, 1230 AM. You know, for all of our listeners, if you ever miss the program, you can get us online at conduitnews.com, facebook.com/conduitnews, or our YouTube channel. Just search for Conduit News and be sure to click the subscribe button and click the little bell to receive notifications. Here at Conduit News Radio, we provide you multiple ways to listen to your number one source for Arkansas news and politics. ConduitNews.com. Bob Maloney here with a developing story from ASA News The Parrot. China is coming to Arkansas. We go live to the press conference where the Communist Chinese executive is addressing Arkansans for the first time. Let's listen into the translator. On behalf of the government of the People's Republic of China, we invite you to come and visit the newest named city in Arkansas, China, Delphia. We are very pleased to own an American city. Our communist government is proud to do business with the mediocre state of Arkansas. We are happy to take your money and your trees and send the profits back home. The Communist government of China was pleased to learn the taxpayers of Arkansas are excited to contribute their money with the hope, if you build it, one day jobs will come. We are excited to take your fields of capitalism and turn them into fields of communism, where every Arkansan has nightly dreams of Mao. China is looking forward to our investment of $1 billion in what is now called Arkansas. We see this as an investment in our future, and that future will be called New Beijing. Chinese investment will make Arkansas a great place for jobs, as the People's Republic of China will succeed where the Soviets failed. As we build our roots deep in Arkansas, we are thrilled with the potential new ideas and advancement we will share with our people back home. Soon we will have the world's largest runway in the South China Sea, and we thank Arkansas for contributing to our noble cause. In closing, once we make China great again, all of you will see the glory of the revolution of Mao. And Arkansas, whatever you do, please never call the FBI.
Paul Harrell, Parrot.
Exposing the truth and everything the Marble Palace establishment keep trying to cover up. It's Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for being with us today. Following up on that, Joe brought up an interesting point. Would Kamala Harris walk across that North Korean border? Would any of the Democrats? Would Pete Buttigieg? Would he walk across that border? I mean, it's an honest question. I just don't think any of them want to be that proactive, right? They'd rather be told what to do. This is what we are actually seeing. What we have seen from the president the last 2 weeks. Is leadership just in terms of he's exercising his power. He's letting the world know he's in charge. What I mean by that is we almost went to war with Iran, right? He pulled back. What was his reasoning? His reasoning was, an unmanned drone. I think I'm not going to go kill 150 people for an unmanned drone. I'll just increase sanctions on them. Wow. Oh, by the way, that used to be the left's narrative too, right? That would be a leftist, that would be somebody on the left, a Democrat would make that decision, and the left would go in the media and be like, oh, humanity and human life. What a compassion. No, it was Trump. Trump stole their girlfriend. They're mad. Trump's stealing their issues. Trump is stealing, historically, their issues of diplomacy and being slow to war. Do you understand what's going on here? It's hilarious. And then by doing so, he demonstrated to everybody. He called it off 10 minutes before the attack. That was the story. letting the world know, yes, it is in fact President Trump who has his finger on the trigger, no one else. And not only is he willing to pull the trigger or not pull the trigger, he's also willing to go inside the country of North Korea. Back in a minute.
Very hard. Kids share beds. They don't have a single bed, for each individual in their home. And we're willing to give taxpayer money. I mean, whether it's a government contract or not, it's irrelevant. It's our money to do this for those people that are trying to get in here. There's something wrong. There's something wrong with the whole thought process. But to get on to another point that you were talking about, could you imagine last week if the president did send missiles into Iran?
Wow.
And there were people killed? I mean, the backlash from millennials and groups like that this country would have been in turmoil for several days, if not weeks.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. The whole thought process is crazy.
Yeah, and on that, I mean, that was pretty incredible. That whole situation, the way it unfolded. I'm obviously glad that we didn't do it. I thought the president's logic. You see, he gets no credit for that, though. Like, I feel like that's kind of a middle of the road, if not left of center response, being like, well, it was an unmanned drone. Nobody died. Why am I going to kill 150 people? And let's be honest, There might have been way more than 150 people. It could have been civilians. You don't know. And I thought, but of course the press gives him no credit. They said he was a warmonger, then they said he was weak. I mean, pick a side and stick with it, left.
Yeah, and well, that's their narrative every day. And exactly, if he did shoot the missiles and one person was killed, we would have heard how horrific a person he was. Then you heard how weak he was, but they do not give him credit. That took a lot of willpower. When you have that power to, defend what you feel is, something that happened against this country, and he had the willpower not to do that. I give him a lot of credit, and I think it's all part of his master plan. I think, truthfully, behind doors, he's trying to get some communication open with the Iranians to resolve this, because, unfortunately, if something else happens, it may not turn out that way.
I agree, and, I was listening to Senator Rand Paul say, military confrontation is more likely. Then, of course, my foreign policy, the one I've always advocated is one, not really a boots-on-the-ground foreign policy, but if you do have to do it, you send the planes over there. You bomb them back to the Stone Age, and you come home, and that seems to be what the president's mentality would be, at least at first, if we did get into a confrontation. But I'm like you, Gary. He does seem to be wanting the diplomatic route. He's kind of using the same line he used with North Korea, in terms of Iran could be economically a very prosperous country, but they've just got to stop, trying to get a nuclear weapon so they can hold a gun to the world's head,
Yeah, and I say this on a regular basis. Iran, who I feel is the largest subcontractor of terrorism in this world, they may not do it themselves, but they, hire out third parties, and we had nothing to do with it. This all has to come to an end. It really all started with the hostage-taking years ago, and it's been many years now. Let's try and resolve this diplomatically, and hopefully they will get the message. Because look, we've been fighting in enough wars, but if we do, I'm exactly on
The intersection of conservative ideas and reality. Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Pride Month is over. We talked about that a little bit last hour. Pride Month is now, Gay Pride Month is officially over. Speaking of Pride Month, did you hear about the magical fairy? Yeah, it's a magical fairy one time that came upon a man, and the magical fairy said, "Hey, I will grant you one wish. What do you want? I'll give it to you." And the man looked at the fairy, and the man said, "I wish to live forever." Magical fairy said, "I'm not allowed to grant that particular wish. I'm really sorry, but wish for something else." And the man said, "Fine, then I want to die the day that Congress is filled with honest, hardworking, bipartisan men and women who act only in the people's best interest." And the fairy replied, "You crafty expletive." Telephone number 870-275-9799. The internet sales tax is here. So, it's the end of Pride Month, but it's also July 1st, which is the new fiscal year here in Arkansas. Also means that you're now going to be paying more money when you buy stuff on the internet. This is something that has been a 4-year endeavor. Over the last 4 years, the establishment and elite in the state of Arkansas have wanted this tax to go into place. Many of the arguments have been successful in terms of wearing politicians down. This original bill was one that was rejected 2 years ago. And it was, I guess that would have been in 2017. They voted on it a couple times, and they couldn't get the votes out of the House to just pass this tax increase onto the people. Politicians were using phrases like tax cheat because they were conflating and misrepresenting the difference legally on the books between a sales tax and a use tax. Arkansas has a use tax, which is voluntary. The tax isn't voluntary, but it requires you to self-report that you owe the use tax. This is what they were claiming had to be done when you purchase things on the internet. And instead of empowering the DFNA to harass the average citizens about their internet purchases, the state of Arkansas thought it would be easier to really redefine the definition of sovereignty in and of itself and make out-of-state sellers subject to Arkansas state law, which has set the state and the country on the path to a major problem. There will now be massive conflicts because of this, and when that happens, the federal government will get what they want, which is a national sales tax. They'll call it a national internet tax, but it will really be what they've wanted for a while, which is a national sales tax to fund the federal government, and in turn, they will give money back, some of it to the states. But you mark my words, the federal government, if they act, will get a piece of the commerce that's going on across the entire country. Now, I might be for that, by the way, if they would eliminate the income tax completely, but they will not do that. So this is kind of where we are today. And so if you purchase something, by the way, I would love for you guys to send me your stories, and I'll post them up at conduitnews.com. I'll post the screenshots of the stuff that you send me. If you guys get emails, or you guys or you see somebody on Facebook, if testimonials like, hey, I just looked at my bill and I'm paying $1.50 more a month for this service, and I think we should just catalog it and put it out there. This is going to be an absolute windfall for the government. This is a way government grows. The government couldn't resist to do this. They had to create for themselves another tributary to suck the money out of the system. The government is doing this. In Arkansas particularly, it can't come at a moment too soon because we are running out of other people's money. This is a fact. This is why they raised your taxes during the last session. That's right. You may have not heard that, but your Arkansas politicians, Arkansas General Assembly, according to the Department of Finance and Administration's own numbers, you can check those out, by the way, at conduitnews.com, and this first fiscal year of 2020, which begins today, we will see a $75 million net tax increase on the people of Arkansas, meaning that we will be paying at least $75 million more to the government as a whole than we did before the 92nd General Assembly convened. And that is extremely troubling considering what the Republican Party platform says, and that we have supermajorities in the House and in the Senate. It is Act 822. This is the one that requires marketplace facilitators such as Amazon and eBay to collect and remit the applicable Arkansas taxes on all sales conducted through the marketplace. So we have sales tax, right? So sales tax, that's state sales tax, 6.5% plus whatever your city does, plus whatever your county does. Now you tell me why somebody in Illinois, for example, needs to be forced to collect sales tax that's supposed to go to fund amenities, police, fire, things that this business in Illinois is never going to see the advantages of. This is the issue. Well, it's for purposes of fairness. Well, it's totally different. In my opinion, it's not for purpose. I think the internet is a completely different beast. And it costs nothing essentially nothing to set up a store. You do have products delivered on roads, but those are paid for with federal excise taxes on tires. So you're already, they're tearing up our road. No. But you pay sales tax. When you have a brick and mortar store, you have trash, you have fire, you have sidewalks, streets, all that. Anyway, it's to me, it's apples and oranges. But hey, I get it. The average person is going to say, well, for purposes of fairness. The other argument, though, that the government successfully was able to propagandize the population and politicians with was the fact that this will save your Main Street businesses. That because of fairness, now Main Street businesses are going to be saved. That's not true at all. If your business is struggling because of the internet, I got news for you. A sales tax on the internet is not going to save your business. People are shopping on the internet because it's convenient and it's fun. Actually, it's a lot of fun, believe it or not. You can do your own research. You don't have to. Anyway, now there are still some stores where you want to touch something, feel something, try it on. But even those are going away with what Amazon's doing. You can just order your clothes, try them on. If you don't like it, send them back. They'll give you some more. But ask yourself this question. How does giving the government more money save a struggling Main Street business that I bet isn't even on the internet at all? If you're a brick and mortar business and you're struggling, I would start investing a little bit in the internet yourself. Maybe selling some things on the internet for your customers. Maybe even locally. Ever think about that? Anyway, all of that doesn't matter anymore. Fact is, it's here and it'll never go away. And now the government has another increasing revenue stream where now the government will grow. And it can't come at a moment too soon because, again, Arkansas is, we've been in a covert budget crisis ever since 2013, honestly, when we began to expand Medicaid under Obamacare with Medicaid expansion. We always knew we'd have to pay that 10%, and now that we are, we simply can't afford it. The reason they had to take $70.5 million more from us this year in the form of tax increases, and again, it'll be more than that because the internet tax is going to give us way more money than they projected. The reason they had to give us a net tax increase is because 4 years ago, the projected cost for Obamacare Medicaid expansion, the state of Arkansas share, was only something like $50 million. And instead, it was $138 million. Well, there's your $70 million, folks, and then some. But that's the reason. That's why they had to get the money from us. Because, essentially, they had to find out what they needed, and then they took all of the bills they wanted to pass, and they made the equation work out to what was going to fill the gap. In the meantime, they're going to spend every dime they take in because while the Revenue Stabilization Act gives us a balanced budget here in Arkansas, it also ensures that everything that comes in gets spent on some lower priority item, which tells you that tax policy actually drives spending in this state, which is why if we can just cut the flow of money off to the government, the Revenue Stabilization Act kicks in and they just have to deal with whatever we give them. But we got to have politicians that understand that. The state officials estimate, according to the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, that the online sales tax provisions will raise $35 million a year more for the state and about $11 million more a year for cities and counties. You believe that? You think it's $35 million or you think it's way more than that? I don't think people understand I think they do, but look, Dan Douglas said it best. When State Representative Dan Douglas was on the floor of the House of Representatives, Dan Douglas, haven't done the impression in a while. I got to get into it. Hang on. What's something that Dan says? I wear Wrangler blue jeans, all right? They make my booty look good. Hang on, let me figure out what else something Dan Douglas said. It was like, And after the meeting, I went into the man's room, as we all do, and as I'm standing at the urinal, I hear this voice beside me. All right, so Dan Douglas said, "Oh, it's a wag." When he was asked, I can't stay in there. When he was asked how much money, is this an accurate estimate of how much money the internet sales tax is going to bring in, he called it a wag, a wild-ass guess. He said that on the House floor. A wag. I don't know. 33 million, 35 million a year that didn't sound like too much money. Even with that estimate, it's a $75 million tax increase when you take all of the tax increases that they put out there. Let's see here. Remote sellers. Now, also, you got to remember this about the internet sales tax. Again, today, if you're just joining us, is July 1st. It's the end of Pride Month. That was last month. But it's also a new tax day here in Arkansas because you are now paying full state and local sales tax on all of your internet purchases. Thanks to the 92nd General Assembly, you guys are paying more money. We're all paying more money. I mean, that's the future, right? That's the future. I mean, this is like Nottingham. Seriously. I mean, just keep raising taxes. You got local communities doing it too. I was watching, the reason I thought about this is because recently I was watching Walt Disney's Robin Hood. Remember that movie with the fox? Robin Hood's a fox, and you got the rooster. That's like every town has its ups and downs. Sometimes the ups outnumber the downs, but not in Nottingham. Well, that's the way I feel about, like, Northeast Arkansas, like Jonesboro, for example. Just coming back to the people constantly, asking for more money. That's like we're living in Nottingham. And these people that constantly want to, they want people to, you want to raise your taxes so you can subsidize somebody else's hobby. I'll pass, thanks very much. But you go ahead, keep taking Friar Tuck's last farthing in the poor box, right? We don't have an unlimited, it'd be great if we had, an unlimited amount of resources, but we don't. We have a finite amount of resources. Anyway, so we have, if you're just joining us, you're paying more on your taxes because of the internet. Sorry, I totally blanked out there. I went into the Robin Hood mode. Oh, yeah, this is what I was going to say. So paired with the internet sales tax that goes into effect today is the corporate tax cuts. They're going to bring the corporate tax rate from 6.9 down to 5.9. And that sounds great, but it's not going to be enacted for years down the road. So the corporations don't see any of that benefit for years down the road, but we immediately see the tax increases today. Now, that even may sound upsetting to you, but I got a whole nother take on it. How many of you out there have Chapter C corporations? Okay, so a few of you raised your hands while you were driving. Keep your hands attended to. Do me a favor. Don't drive unsafe. But how many of us shop on the internet? Ooh, yeah, that's right. Practically everyone shops on the internet. Very few people have C corporations. So you're telling me that the C corporations, which I'm for getting rid of all corporate taxes in Arkansas completely. But you're telling me that, in Arkansas, under Asa Hutchinson, the tax policy always has to balance out. You cannot cut a tax unless you raise a tax. They refuse to have an actual net tax decrease on the people, right? And they want to claim revenue neutral, but in reality, they've raised taxes on everybody. We're paying more money. It's the DFNA's own numbers. So, that appears to be the policy. But do you guys kind of understand? When I was growing up, you could still be a Democrat. There's still people. There's plenty of Democrats. I asked somebody once when I was growing up, what's the difference between Democrats and Republicans? And I was told that the The Democrats were for working folks, were for poor people, but the Republicans were only for the rich. Folks, that in this internet sales tax bill, giving corporations breaks eventually, if it ever even happens, and using the taxpayers, everybody else that does buy things on the internet, poor, middle class, rich, is the embodiment of a mischaracterization the left has always said about Republicans, that they're only for the rich. Let's give the corporations a tax cut, and let's make everybody else in the state pay for it with their online purchases. Listen, now I know the corporate tax cut is a good thing. I'm for a corporate tax cut. But the way that bill was crafted is circa 1990 Republican policy that the left, harped on constantly. And unfortunately, I think the left, now, why isn't the left and the Democrats in Arkansas, why aren't they saying exactly what I just said? I haven't heard any of them say that. It's a familiar argument. You could say the Republicans are only for the rich. They're making everybody pay these internet taxes and giving corporations. You don't really hear that anymore. It's because the Democrats in this state are just happy that Republicans are growing government at all, and they're basically like, oh, Democrats, shh, Democrats, Harrell, liberals, just back away. Slowly just leave the room. Let the Republicans do what they're doing. Liberal journalists and Democrats should be much more vocal. If we were really reducing government and doing great things, you would hear way more outbursts like Stephanie Flowers on the gun issue, but on every issue. And you don't really hear that. This is Conduit News Radio. We're going to be right back with your meme of the day. Don't go anywhere.
Are you a conservative-minded young person and want to let the world know about it? Are you tired of rolling your eyes as your professor regurgitates progressive, PC, neo-Marxist nonsense? Then you should interview on Conduit News Radio's Young Conservative segment and tell us about why you believe the way you do. Tell us how you came to be a conservative and what are your views on government. Now, if you're worried that your neo-Marxist professor may also be a right-wing talk radio listening masochist, then names can be changed to protect the innocent. It's the Conduit News Radio Conservative Future segment. To be interviewed, call 870-275-9799. That's 870-275-9799. If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
The biggest, the largest subcontractor of terrorism in this world. They may not do it themselves, but they, hire out third parties, and we had nothing to do with it. This all has to come to an end. It really all started with the hostage-taking years ago, and it's been many years now. Let's try and resolve this diplomatically, and hopefully they will get the message. Because look, we've been fighting in enough wars, but if we do, I'm exactly on the same page as you. We fight it through the air and from the sea, and if we have to at the end go in, you go in, and that's why I think it would be so devastating to that country.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think the president wants any sort of long foreign entanglement with boots on the ground because he was so critical of the Iraq War, and what it, which is what it's become, which is an ongoing war that doesn't ever seem to have an end. Some people think that's by design. Gary S. Goldman, we always appreciate you coming on the program, sir, and would love to do it again with you sometime.
Just give me a call. Have a great day.
All righty, you too, Gary. Be safe, sir. Folks, we're going to take a break. Going to reset here. This is Conduit News Radio. We'll be back here.
Need your daily news fix? Don't forget to tune in to Conduit News Radio with Paul Harrell.
Most pointless online argument going on right now is who would win in a fight, John Wick or Batman. The stipulations are Bruce Wayne without his bat suit, alone in Wayne Manor. He doesn't know John Wick is coming, and John Wick can't use guns, so it ends up being a hand-to-hand combat. And there are crazy people that think John Wick would stand a chance. Bruce Wayne would absolutely destroy John Wick in hand-to-hand combat, even if he didn't know John Wick was coming. It would be so sad for John Wick. His bones would be shattered. All right, let's get to our meme of the day. This is pretty straightforward. Do what? Technically not a meme. There's a difference between, memes are, you got these formats where it's more, it's meant to convey. This is just more proving a point. But anyway, it's a photo with words on it, so I guess technically it's a meme, I guess. We have a photo of President Trump shaking Kim Jong-un's hand. Trump at the demilitarized zone versus Obama that looks through bulletproof glass with binoculars versus Bush versus Clinton. And they all, this is hilarious. You look at these three previous presidents, Obama, Bush, and Clinton, all using binoculars, trying to get a peek into the country, and Trump shaking his hand, walking into the country, North Korea, and the world is now safer because of Donald Trump. I'm sorry, leftists, you don't like it. I understand you want to talk about everything else, but the fact that we are safer by not being at war. The left used to believe in that concept. You have a president that is attempting to make peace, which is a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to be a peacemaker. The word peacemaker implies some sort of action or activity. He is doing that personally, and the left hates him for it. And they're going to continue to try to spin this as a negative in some way. Max Brantley, again, we opened the show the second hour. Arkansas Times saying that Trump is dancing with a dictator. This is, I guess the left is just completely abandoned. If that was Obama, they would be thrilled. Okay? If it were any other Republican, they would at least be saying, well, good job. But no. Donald Trump is, Donald Trump has put leftists in therapy. He's been great for therapists. I wonder how many therapists. There was an article a while back, about the therapists in D.C., how their business was booming because so many people were so triggered by this. But yeah, just go talk to your friends, talk to everybody in your sphere of influence. If it comes up, be like, well, the world is safer because of Trump. Right now, the North Korea situation, they were essentially, threatening everyone, and now they're not. And the relationship that they have is a good thing. We may not get anything out of it, but right now they're not testing weapons. Anyway, we'll wait and see. None of the Democrats would do this, by the way. None of them would have walked across that border. The Democrats are mad. Again, Gene on Facebook said it best. They're acting like Trump stole their girlfriend. Trump, these used to be Democratic issues. The old Democratic Party used to be for peace and not war. And again, they used to say the Republicans are just warmongers, right? That's what they used to say. And now you have a Republican who is actively trying to and actively shows restraint and doesn't go bomb Iran, actively tries to pursue peace with Russia. Sometimes I think that the reason the left hates Russia so much now is because they have rejected textbook communism. But they love China because China is still embracing textbook communism. Something to think about. Arkansas, we're going to post this up at Conduit News, this meme on Instagram, courtesy of Superhero Don. And we'll post that at Conduit News on Twitter and Facebook.com/Conduit News. Go to the YouTube channel and subscribe to Conduit News and click the little bell to receive notifications. We will see you tomorrow. Have a great Monday. Tomorrow is our actual Independence Day on July 2nd. I'll tell you about that historically tomorrow. Arkansas, be safe.